Sometimes the pathway to success is not one that you expect. Maybe it starts in high school, lands you in a local cable access show, and then you end up with an Emmy. Well, hey guys, it's Ashley, and on this episode of Meet Our Neighbors, we're gonna meet Ben Shapiro. A guy who grew up in Wayland, learned all about production, maybe has done a few things. So let's go meet him. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here. So if I were to meet you for the first time, would you say, hi, I'm Ben and I've won an Emmy?
No, I don't generally lead with that, and 2 Emmys. I'm a live sports freelance audio engineer, and if you were asking about what I did, that's how I'd introduce myself.
How did you get from, I go to high school in Wayland, to I get an Emmy? Or 2?
It's a story that I actually vividly remember. So the first Friday of the school year, I was at the football game like every high school freshman was, and WayCAM was in a van beneath the stands producing a live broadcast of the game, and I was looking in the window of the van because I saw the TV screens in there and I was curious about it, and Jim Mullane swung the door open, and to my surprise he was the only one in there. And he was directing it, and he said, hey, you're off school on Monday, why don't you come down to the station and I'll give you the tour. And so I came down Monday and got the tour and started interning my freshman year at Wayland High School, and did it for all 4 years, and then went on to college, and the rest is history.
I would say that most people might not be the one who goes and looks at a van and says, I wonder what's going on inside of there. Was it that you could see that there were cables coming from it? Was it making sound? If you remember this vividly, what was it about this van that you're like, I need to check that out?
There was tragically a little girl who had been abducted off a playground in Wayland when I was a young child. Mm-hmm. And I remember with my family and everyone coming out to the playground in support of that. And there were all sorts of news vans there at the time. And so that was something just at a very early age that I'd had curiosity about, like what's going on in there, because somebody opens the door out of a production truck and there's screens and speakers, mm-hmm. and that's not what you expect to find in a vehicle, wheels and doors and TVs and speakers. And so I was curious because it's Wayland High School. How bad could it be? I'll look in the window and see what happens. And I didn't expect somebody on the inside to swing the door open and say, hi,
right.
let me show you around. And it was the best thing that could have happened to me.
So from a very early age, you've been curious.
Yeah.
What is it about the production or TV or any of this that grabs you?
It's solving problems. One of the things a couple of my colleagues like to say is it's kind of fun to do the impossible. And so when you are presented with not enough time, not enough supplies, an impossible task, and you somehow still find a way to stick the landing, it's a very gratifying feeling. At big events, there's a lot of people working together, and the way that workload gets divided and everybody does their part and create something, that's what this Emmy is for, is technical team remote. It's not for me specifically, it's for the people who put on the event and did something. At the Olympics, I worked women's hockey in South Korea, and there were 4 of us there doing the broadcast. Everybody else was in Stamford, Connecticut at NBC's headquarters. And, we talk about latency and delays, and I remember growing up watching Operation Desert Storm, and you've got the reporter there with their ear, and then they're interrupting each other because neither of them can tell when the other one's done talking. And we were going from South Korea to Stamford, Connecticut, and back again in 0.88 seconds. I mean, it's half a second from here to there is close enough that it's just a natural conversational pause. And so we were able to do things at the South Korean Olympics, like put men's hockey and women's hockey in the studio in Stamford up on a 3-box, 3 cameras on screen all at once, and just have people interact. And that's only made possible when the technology and the people and the planning all come together. And so being a part of that is something that's really gratifying when it actually works.
I would imagine there are quite a few fail-safes, though.
There's always fail-safes, but I would argue that the fun in this isn't coming out of it by the skin of your teeth. It's having gone in with plan A, B, C, D, E. I mean, it drives my wife nuts when we go to the airport and a flight gets delayed, and I know that there's 3 other flights on 2 different airlines and all the ways we could get there, because that's just the sort of the planning that has always been in my mindset. It's something that TV pounds in you, is assume that the first 3 ways you think this is going to work aren't going to work, and maybe you get lucky. But it's the real fun is when you imagine up something and work with other people and can execute on it and have it actually work. And the audience at home, 99 times out of 100, will never know, probably never care. It won't be the thing that makes their day, but it's the kind of thing that's fascinating for us to pull it off. And since no 2 shows are ever exactly the same, it's always an ever-changing challenge, and I find that part the most interesting.
I would imagine if I'm viewing something, if I know there's a problem, someone on your end might have messed up. So conversely, you saying no one's going to know, well, that's you winning.
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of a saying of no one knows what I do until I don't do it. But if you can tell at home that something's wrong, it's not just me. It means we've gone through 3 or 4 layers of something failed by the time the audience at home knows. Because we plan for contingencies and backups of it's a wireless microphone, but if the wireless isn't working, where's the wired microphone? And if that location's not available because security on that particular day isn't going to let us go over into that corner of the arena, where else can we do it? And so there's all of that's planned for, documented, communicated, tested. On an NFL game, we will set up a day or 2 before the game, and then the day before the game, at the end of the day, we'll test everything, and then the day of the game when we come in, we'll test everything all over again, and every single channel of everything gets tested every single time. And it's done in such a way that if the audience at home knows there's a problem, 5 people's hair is on fire at that moment.
What did you learn at WayCAM that you take with you today?
A lot of it was the problem solving. There's a foundation for that, because WayCAM is a great resource. It's a great thing to have in the community, but WayCAM isn't made of gold. We didn't have wireless microphones. We didn't have endless cable. And so when you went to do a Warriors football game, or you went to do a town hall production, the town meeting, we only have the resources we have. We don't have a ton of people. So how can we accomplish what we want to accomplish with limited pieces? And it's a lot like when you try and cook with a recipe and you're missing 1 or 2 things in the fridge. You adapt to see how you can still make something worth enjoying with less than maybe all the parts and pieces. And so the troubleshooting, problem solving. I remember doing a graduation at WayCAM, and it started dumping rain. It wasn't supposed to rain. It was pouring rain, and it became an issue of how do we protect the equipment? How do we all stay safe, because there's electricity and wires and so what are all the ways in which we can unwind this? Doesn't matter if the wires get wet, but we probably don't want the cameras getting wet. And so all of that kind of thinking and processing, because so much of what happens in TV, especially live television, is you get one shot at it, and once it happens, it's over, it's done. You don't even have to worry about it because it's already happened, and maybe we'll talk about it, maybe we won't, but like the audience at home has seen it or hasn't, it's too late to worry about that. You've got to keep going. And so real-time problem solving, thinking on your feet, being able to anticipate things and try and plan for things, because everything is unexpected, and we don't save lives, right? Like this, nothing in television, not the Super Bowl, not the Olympics, we don't save lives. It is in the grand scheme of life, not an important thing, but it's something that I take great pride in and something I've really enjoyed. And for that, I think it's worthwhile.
Where is the strangest place that you have ever worked?
I was touring with an MMA show, and the people who booked this booked us into like a recreational mixed-use gym space, but didn't book the entire room out. And so we were doing a live broadcast on, I think, ESPN or NBC Sports with like people playing kickball like 20 feet over. And there's just a dichotomy between like intense ring lighting and two guys in the ring, fighting, and people playing like kickball or, at soccer or whatever. Maybe it was basketball, but I just remember through all the microphones we could hear balls bouncing or getting kicked all day long, and it undermines some of the gravitas of what you're trying to portray in this event.
I would only imagine. Did you get hit by any balls?
No, not there. There's all kinds of crazy stories from different places, but no. Fast turns, airports that weren't favorable, and one of the interesting things about television is that, the NFL or the Olympics or nobody else cares that your flight was delayed or whatever. Puck drop is 7:05, and that's when it's happening, whether you're ready or not. And so you just better be ready.
Did you start with sports because you found a love for it at WayCAM?
I started with sports in part because of WayCAM, and when I went to college, my college's hockey and basketball teams were not very good. And so they were paying like time buys on Nessun and MSG Network to buy a 2-hour block of time or 3-hour block of time to put on a college basketball or a hockey game. And one of the professors at the college said, hey, wait a minute. If we're paying to buy the time, then we can pick whoever we want on the crew. They don't get to pick and choose who the crew members are because we're paying for the time. We can do whatever we want with it. And so I got involved my freshman year of college as a utility, a cable puller or wrangler. I was the person behind the handheld camera operator. When they were walking, I was paging cable and pulling it up and wiring things and unwiring them. And sophomore year, there was an opportunity to be what's called an A2, which is an audio assist. The A1 is the person in the production truck pushing the faders. The A2 is the person outside the production truck running all the wires, working with the talent, configuring everything, patching everything, making sure it all works and it stays happy through the whole broadcast. And so I became an A2, and by the time I graduated college, I was working professional freelance gigs as an A2 and have done that till now.
What did you get the Emmy for? And the other one?
The Super Bowl in Tampa Bay with CBS. It was the Kansas City Chiefs at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was the year after Tom Brady had left the New England Patriots and had gone to Tampa and had won down there. And then the other one was as part of the technical team that pulled off the first Olympics in South America, the Rio Olympics in 2016. And I, through simply dumb luck, is the only way I can describe it. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. I got assigned to beach volleyball from Copacabana Beach, which, as Summer Olympics assignments go, is as good a gig as you could possibly ask for. It was great.
What is it like? Do you get a phone call that you're nominated? How do you find that out? And then is there an award show? How do you find out that you've won? What goes through your mind?
So there is an award show. The nominations come from a pure group, right? The Academy. And you can sort of anticipate, right? This is a big year this year. It's legendary February for NBC, where they've got the NBA All-Star Game, they've got the Winter Olympics, they've got the Super Bowl. Those events will almost certainly cannibalize each other. Two of the three, the Winter Olympics and the Super Bowl, will almost certainly get nominated for technical team event. ESPN has the US Tennis Open. There's different major events that happen. And so if you're a part of the crew, you may be nominated. And then there is the Sports Emmys, and they're a national Emmy award. And you'll find out that you are nominated when the nominations all come out the same way any other Emmys are. You look at the list of nominees, and if your name is on the list, there you are, or if the production you were a part of. And then there's that period of waiting while the voting happens from the Academy, and then there's an award show, and usually a representative from CBS or NBC or whoever goes up to accept the award on behalf of the crew or the team that did it. But it's been a fun thing to be a part of. The Emmys are interesting. They're like a conversation starter, but sometimes the most interesting things are the things that aren't ever, I don't want to say reported, but are the stories from the road that you and the people who are there really know them, and those things are sometimes the most fulfilling as well.
What is the thing that you are most proud of, work-wise?
I wouldn't say it's an event. I would say that the best part of television is the people. And there is a whole road family out there, people who I could call right now and who would change their plans, open their doors, whatever it might be. And when you are traveling at the level of productions that have Super Bowls and World Series and Olympics, you come across the same people over and over and over again, because the networks know who can show up and do the job and doesn't need to be supervised endlessly. And those people become your family. The year before the pandemic, I spent 125 nights in hotel rooms, and I loved it. I mean, I didn't have children at the time, and so it was sort of carefree living. The airlines take good care of you when you spend that much time on the plane. The hotels take good care of you when you spend that much time at the hotel. And so traveling was very comfortable. And, we had a tradition. I spent 9 years on American Ninja Warrior, and we had a tradition one of the nights of going out to like the best steakhouse in town, and the whole crew went, and at least the whole audio crew went. And those are sort of the memories that, as I think back on my time in television, are like the most rewarding and the most valuable. Is to some extent the production is the job, and there's great pride in that, but the people that pull it off, and because none of this can be done alone. All of this takes a team, and the team behind it is really where most of my pride is.
Speaking of not being able to do it alone, it's kind of circling right back to the Wayland cable access station. What would you say if there is a kid, maybe freshman or sophomore year, that's proverbially looking in that van going, should I try?
There is no harm in trying. And what I will say is I'd never had an interest in television production. I was certainly a nerdy kid, right? I was more the yearbook club than I was the football team 7 days a week. But there's all kinds of people in television. There's sports fans who, I've worked the biggest events, and people are like, I would give my left arm to attend that. And I'm like, yeah, it's a day at the office, because sports for me is not that big of a deal. The production, the team, the fun is why I'm doing it. But for someone in Wayland who's thinking about these things, WayCAM was the start of a really great journey for me. The people here are just welcoming, and I was given the freedom to find out what I enjoyed and take part in it in the ways I wanted to, and not take part of it in ways that I didn't want to. And so it was a great opportunity, a great community resource, and I'm truly really proud that this many years later, it's been decades, that WayCAM is still going strong and has found a new home at Wayland High School, and has gotten quite an upgrade since I was sitting at the controls.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Ben's story is a reminder that your path to success might begin with curiosity. Whether it's looking in a van and meeting someone who helps you find your joy in television, or maybe just following your dreams. Ben's story began with WayCAM, Wayland's local cable access channel that I have found out many don't know exists. So do me a favor. Look up WayCAM on YouTube, on their website, and see what we have to offer. And if your kids are interested in television, have them come look around. They may end up with an Emmy too. Who do you think that we should meet next?